When cruel cops humiliated his innocent mother, a scared young boy made one desperate call to a number she made him memorize years ago. He didn't know it would unleash a secret that shook the whole city. Rain poured as the single mom stood outside the small grocery store, pleading with the two officers. They accused her of stealing baby formula, even though she had a receipt. Her son, barely 10, clutched her hand, eyes wide with fear. One officer shoved her against the wall to search her bag, making her cry out. People walked by, pretending not to notice. The boy let go of her hand and quietly stepped back. From his worn-out backpack, he pulled out an old phone, his mom's backup. He remembered a number she once made him memorize, just in case. He dialed it with trembling fingers. "Mayor's office," a voice answered. The boy spoke fast, barely holding back tears. "They're hurting my mom. Please, you have to help." The assistant paused. "Who is this?" The boy replied, "My mom is Maria Alvarez. She said if we were ever in trouble, I should call this number. You helped her once." Moments later, just as one cop reached for cuffs, a black car pulled up fast. A man in a suit stepped out, the mayor. "What's going on here?" he barked. The officers froze. The mayor recognized Maria instantly. "She saved my daughter's life 2 years ago in a fire. You're arresting her for formula?" he demanded. The officers stammered. The mayor turned to the boy. "You did the right thing." He wrapped his coat around Maria, shielding her from the rain. Behind them, someone had recorded the whole scene. That video would be all over the news by morning. It was just another school day when the call came. The principal claimed the single mom had failed to pick up her son, so the cops were called. When she arrived breathless, explaining her bus broke down, 2 officers accused her of neglect and slapped cuffs on her in front of the entire school. Her son watched frozen as classmates whispered. One officer shoved her against the police car. Tears welled in her eyes, but she stayed silent for her son's sake. The boy ran. Past the school gates, past the alley near their apartment. He reached home, yanked open a drawer and pulled out an old metal lunchbox. Inside was a faded army badge and a card, his dad's, now gone. He remembered his mum telling him once, "Your dad saved a man's life in the war. He said if we ever needed help, call this number." With shaky hands, the boy called. "Hello?" a voice answered. "My name is Daniel. My mom is getting arrested. Please, you said you'd help us one day." The line went quiet. "Where are you, son?" the voice finally said. Minutes later, a sleek SUV pulled into the school lot. Out stepped the mayor himself, storming past the crowd. "Uncuff her," he ordered. "Now." The officers hesitated. "That woman's husband saved my life overseas," the mayor said coldly. "And you're humiliating her over a missed bus?" The cuffs dropped. The mayor turned to Daniel. "Your dad was a hero, and today so were you." Behind them, a teacher recorded everything. By nightfall, justice had already begun. Smoke still lingered in the air from the destroyed food cart. The single mom stood helpless as officers mocked her, claiming she was operating illegally. Her only source of income lay in ashes. Her young son clung to her side, confused and frightened. "Please," she begged, "I had a permit." One officer scoffed and kicked a burnt container aside. The crowd watched, but said nothing. That night, in their tiny apartment, the mom sat silently, trying to stay strong. Her son quietly opened a drawer and pulled out a half-burned envelope he once saw her hide. Inside was a scorched note. To Maria. "Thank you for saving my sister during the clinic fire. I owe you my life. David." In the corner, a faded city seal. The boy looked up the name. David was now the mayor. He stared at the phone, then dialed the number on the bottom of the note. "Mayor's office," a voice answered. "It's about my mom," he said. "She saved your sister. They burned her cart today." An hour later, as reporters gathered at the ruined Market Street, a black SUV arrived. The mayor stepped out, holding the burned note in his hand. "Where is she?" he asked. When he saw her, tears welled in his eyes. "Maria?" She nodded slowly, not recognizing him at first. "I was 12 when you pulled my sister out of that fire," he said, "and this is how my city treated you?" He turned to the officers. "You're done." Cameras clicked. The boy stood taller. His mom, speechless, finally smiled. Just a little. The eviction notice came without warning. By evening, officers were dragging the single mom out of her apartment, ignoring her pleas and waving off her receipts. Her son cried, clutching a worn backpack as one officer shoved her down the stairs. Neighbors peeked through curtains, but no one stepped in. Her son, wiping his tears, remembered something, an old community event where his mom helped an injured woman during a building fire. The mayor had shaken her hand that day and whispered, "If you ever need anything, tell them you know me." The boy dug through the backpack until he found a faded flyer from that event. At the bottom was a contact number. He stepped into a corner and made the call. "Mayor's office." He spoke fast, choking on tears. "My mom's Maria. She helped at the fire 3 years ago. They're kicking us out. Please, she said you'd remember." 10 minutes later, as the last bag was tossed on the curb, a black car pulled up. The mayor stepped out, angry and determined. "What is this?" he asked sharply. The lead officer tried to explain, but the mayor cut him off. "She saved my wife's life that night. You're evicting her over a landlord complaint without due process." He turned to the boy. "Thank you for calling." Then, to the crowd, "This ends today." Within hours, not only was her home restored, but a quiet investigation began. By the next morning, headlines read, "Mayor intervenes in illegal eviction, corruption uncovered." The boy sat beside his mom, proud. He had made them listen. It started with a desperate choice. The single mom stood in a store aisle, staring at a pack of diapers she couldn't afford. She tucked them into her coat and whispered to her son, "I'll pay them back next week." But a store camera caught it, and minutes later 2 officers handcuffed her outside. Her son screamed as she was forced into the police car. "It's just diapers," he cried. No one listened. The boy ran to the only place he could think of, the neighborhood shelter where they once lived. Inside, he found Ms. Carter, the manager who had always been kind. Breathless, he begged, "They took my mom. She didn't mean to steal. Please, she helped this place once, remember?" Ms. Carter looked at him with shock. "Your mom's the one who gave that donation 3 years ago, the one that saved the shelter." She pulled out her phone and made a call. "This is urgent. Tell the mayor Maria Sanchez needs help." Within the hour, the mayor's car arrived at the station. He demanded to see her. "You're holding a woman who saved half the families in this city," he said. "She funded the program that got me re-elected." The officers scrambled. "She stole diapers," one muttered. The mayor glared. "No, she gave this city more than most ever will." Maria was released. Her son ran into her arms, and the next day, the mayor held a press conference announcing a new initiative, free diapers for families in need. It began with her story. The night was cold, and the street nearly empty when the single mom was pulled over. Her hands trembled as she showed her disability card, explaining her condition and the delay in renewing her tags. But the officers didn't care. One yanked her door open, forcing her out. Her cane dropped. "You're obstructing traffic," they said, laughing as she struggled to stay upright. Her son, in the back seat, sat frozen in fear. He couldn't fight them, but he remembered something. An old voicemail his mom played once, a man thanking her for staying with his wife through a terrible night in the hospital. "You changed our lives," the voice had said. "If you ever need help, call me. I'll answer." Heart-pounding, the boy dug through his mom's phone until he found it. David Mendez. He Googled the name. "Mayor," he dialed. A woman answered, "Mayor's office." "My mom's in trouble," the boy said. "She helped his wife. He left her a voicemail once. Please." The line went silent. Then, "Where are you?" 15 minutes later, headlights cut through the dark. The mayor stepped out, still in his dinner jacket. He took one look at the officers and barked, "Back away from her, now." They hesitated. He showed them the voicemail. "This woman sat with my wife when she thought I was dead, and you're arresting her over expired tags." The officers backed off. The boy ran to his mother as the mayor picked up her cane. The city would soon find out what really happened that night and who tried to hide it.